Hey there, hope you're all doing well. I just having a nice cold, windy day in Texas. Got to work tomorrow, so I'm just kind of taking it easy. Actually, I take my car in and I'm gonna have to have some work done on it. It's getting old. Um, More money going out the door. Always lots of money being spent. Anyway, I just watched a really interesting video and this guy I follow. I'll try to link it below. He actually wrote a book too about carnivore diet and all that. He used to be, him and his wife were vegan, vegetarian for years and years and years and years. And, they suffered a lot, had a lot of health problems because of it, and did paleo, did all this stuff. So I like this guy because he's kind of been around and done things. He's done quite a lot. So he's kind of been around the block with it. And he's very rigorous in his, he has a lot of, he backs up his stuff with a lot of science and research and things like that. Anyway, he just was talking about a study they did where they gave people a calorie restricted diet, but it wasn't really calorie restricted. They told them that it was calorie restricted, and they told them that they were going to probably lose a certain amount of weight. And even though it wasn't calorie restricted, the belief that they had was that it was calorie restricted while they were doing it, and they ended up losing about the amount of weight that they were expected to lose if it was indeed had been a calorie restricted diet. So it's very interesting, the power of belief. And I read a book a long time ago, and it talked about the power of prayer, and which is kind of similar to belief, but I do believe that there are forces that have been dispatched from the divine that are here to help assist us. Call them angels, call them aliens, call them whatever you want, but guides, masters, whatever. But I do believe that, obviously, with the practice that I do. And so it's just an interesting thing I think we need to be aware of. We got to be careful what we're believing in, And I was thinking about it while I was listening to this, and how we can be manipulated by our beliefs so much. And, I was thinking about predictive programming. So, where you've got a situation where, you have these movies that are talking about pandemics, and then you have a pandemic. Or you're talking about alien invasions, and they put out these narratives because the dark forces control all the entertainment industry. So they're putting out all these narratives all the time, and the media is controlled by these dark forces. At least for the time being, these things are changing right now, and so these dark forces are using this predictive programming to program our minds into believing a certain thing. So let's say let's just say you don't think for yourself, and you go to church and you follow, what the pastor tells you, and, you watch the regular movies, and, the movies are telling you, oh, aliens are coming. And then the pastors are telling you, oh, aliens are demons. They're demonic. And then people start seeing UFOs in the sky, and there's tons of videos of UFOs. And so these people have formed this belief that, well, it must be demons. They're demons. And how limiting that is, and how it keeps them in a box. It keeps them trapped in a set, rigid framework. And this is exactly the opposite of what spirituality is. So spirituality is where you shake off these scales, this part of you that's this shell, this part of you that is blocking you and keeping you from expanding and having increased awareness and increased expansion. And we're supposed to be moving into a place of more joy, more fullness, more fulfillment, more happiness. These are things that are natural. It's natural to feel these things when you're in a state of expansion. And this system control is trying to keep us in the opposite state. So they want to keep us with, you know, there's an interesting near-death experience I listened to. It actually wasn't a near-death experience, but it was on that NDE or channel or whatever I was following. I can't remember exactly the video it was, but this guy was at college and he had gone to, ended up making friends with a guy who was a Christian. And this guy was not a Christian. He didn't believe in God. He was basically an atheist. And he, for some reason, on one of the spring breaks, he went to this Christian's home. And they were in the guy's bedroom waiting for dinner or whatever. His mom was fixing dinner or whatever. And while they were waiting, the Christian said, "Would you like to pray?" And the guy was like, "All right, whatever. You know, I don't, you know," he didn't really believe anything. But he's like, okay, whatever. So when he went to pray, he said it was like, I can't remember exactly what he said to God, but I think he said something along the lines of, if you're real, God, you know, show me that you're real, basically. And so he closed his eyes and he said that, I can't translate the whole experience. I can't remember exactly, but the part that was interesting to me was he said it was like he had scales over his eyes and these scales fell away, and he could actually see these physical scales falling away from his eyes. And then he had vision, and like, you know, almost like Christ consciousness. He became basically what you would call like cosmic conscious or Christ conscious or God conscious. It happened in an instant in this room, and he saw this bright light and all these things happened. And it was interesting that these scales were over his eyes. And I was thinking, man, you know, what are the scales over my eyes? What is it that's holding me back from realizing this level of consciousness? And there's just so many things, you know, and it all has to do with our belief and our belief system. And there's so many layers that have been laid down on this belief system. It's like an onion. So each one of us has had lifetime after lifetime after lifetime of these layers put over us, different levels of conditioning that we've been subjected to, especially probably in the last, you know, few thousand years, you know, however many times we've incarnated. And so we have not been in an existence where we had the layers removed in a very long time. And in the Hindus talk about Kali Yuga, and Kali Yuga is a time of darkness. So we've been in a state of Kali Yuga, but I believe we're coming out of this, and I think the scales are falling away. And you can see this happening right now. It looks like the scales are falling off, and people are starting to see things more clearly. And at least that's what I see when I look at Twitter feed, when I look at YouTube, when I look at just the awareness that's going on. People are waking up big time. Their beliefs are going to change. These are going to be belief-changing events that happen. And then we're going to be able to realize that we can forge a new path with our beliefs. And, you know, Kamlesh talks about that in that book, Designing Destiny. We will start to become co-creators. We'll start to become, he didn't really say it that way, but that's how I interpret it, is we become co-creators. We're designing our destiny. So we're becoming more attuned to the subtleties that are involved with manifesting reality. And that's a really exciting thing. But my battery's about to die, so I'll end it there.